Welcome to the third presentation in the New England Business Group's Pre-Startup Series. This session will introduce Building the Business Concept, while the entire 7-presentation series will help you evaluate your business opportunities so that you can reach a go, no-go decision. I am Larry Gable, President and CEO of the New England Business Group, and I will be your presenter today. It takes much more than just a good idea to create a successful business. An important aspect of successful business development is to follow a process of how you will assess a business idea or concept and decide whether to move forward with the idea and build a business if it is decided to move forward. The business concept steps help outline a simple process you can follow. The steps are not a rigid structure to follow, rather they identify the issues that you need to address and when to address them. Experience has shown that if you do not follow a process, you will find yourself going in circles and revisiting the same issues over and over again without making progress. In addition to wasting time, the frustration may cause you to make poor decisions that could come back and haunt you later. Following the process will not guarantee a successful business, but it will greatly increase your chances of success. The New England Business Group has crafted the pre-startup process to help the entrepreneur organize thoughts and prioritize activities in order to optimize the idea development and research processes leading to the go, no-go decision based on market research. The net effect for the entrepreneur is to have acquired an enhanced information set upon which to build the business plan. The work and effort invested in business research and analysis is not wasted, but rather immediately useful in the development of the business plan. The business concept module is the third of 7 modules. It's designed to help the entrepreneur focus on the critical elements of the business and develop those ideas to a point where they can be tested and evaluated. The module will discuss idea development, research methods and sources, and outline the structure and analysis of the feasibility study. Good ideas are a dime a dozen. To build a successful business requires superior execution. The business concept focuses one's thinking so that the entrepreneur can identify the specifics of the proposed venture. It is a clear and concise description of the business opportunity. The business concept is an idea for a business that includes basic information such as the service or product, the target demographic, and a unique selling proposition that gives the company an advantage over competitors. A business concept may involve a new product or simply a novel approach to marketing or delivering an existing product. Once the concept is developed, it can be incorporated into a business plan. So as we can see, the business concept is the bridge between the idea and the business plan. It has 4 elements: define the product or service, define the customer, define the benefits, and define the means of distribution. The business concept helps the entrepreneur focus on the critical elements of the business and develop the ideas to a state that can be tested and evaluated. It is the first step in the execution process. So the business concept really must answer 4 questions. What is the product or service being offered? What does it look like? How much will it cost? Who is the customer? What is their demographic? How do you reach them? Remembering that the customer pays for the product and the consumer ultimately uses the product. And third, what is the benefit that you are providing? What value does the customer receive for your product or service? Or fourth, how will you connect the customer to the product? By retail store, home delivery, door-to-door, mail order, catalog, wagon train. There are many, many possible ways. You need to think about those. In developing a business concept, one must consider the features and benefits offered. Features are distinctive aspects, qualities, or characteristics of the product or service. Benefits are things that promote or enhance the value of a product or a service to the customer. and then testing the concept. The feasibility study is the process that tests a business concept. Is there market potential? Do the business fundamentals encourage starting a business? The feasibility analysis is not a business plan. Feasibility analysis is an investigative function, and the analysis is conducted before you decide to go forward and build a business. The business plan is prepared after you've decided to move forward, and the business plan provides the planning function. The feasibility study is designed to evaluate the opportunity's potential. That is, whether there is enough demand for a product or service and whether business conditions are appropriate for proceeding with the idea. The feasibility study helps to frame and flesh out specific business scenarios so they can be studied in depth. So, you really want to determine if the new business concept has potential. It is a major information source, that is the feasibility study, in making the crucial go, no-go decision. Market research is an important section in the feasibility study, and it examines the potential market for the goods or services. So the market assessment may be conducted first. Identify your market opportunities. If there are none there, then perhaps you don't want to proceed. So the reasons for the feasibility study are: gives focus to the project. It narrows the business alternatives and it identifies new opportunities. It increases the probability of business success because it identifies weaknesses early and can identify reasons not to proceed. Plus, it provides valuable information for the go, no-go decision. It likewise documents the idea was thoroughly investigated, and that, by the way, will help attract equity investment and funding from lenders and other grant providers. So a formal feasibility study can be of great benefit. So let's look at the feasibility study. You talk about your product and service, the customers, the industry, the value chain, startup needs, competition, and the founding team. So let's look at the feasibility study outline. First, it is a description of the business. You identify and explore business scenarios. You define the project and alternative scenarios. And then you look at the relationship to the surrounding geographical area. Then we'll look at the market feasibility. That is an industry description, the industry competitiveness, market potential, access to market outlets, and some sales projections. Next, we'll look at the technical feasibility. We determine facility needs, the suitability of production technology, the availability and the suitability of site or sites, the raw materials required and how they're acquired, and then all other inputs that might be necessary. And finally, we look at the financial and economic feasibility. We estimate the total capital requirements, we estimate the equity and credit needs, and we budget expected costs and returns. Finally, we look at the organizational and managerial feasibility, the business structure and the business founders and expertise available. Are there experts that we need to hire? Do we have all the expertise we need? Those are the kinds of things you want to look at there. Now that we've done that, then the next is to study the results. We identify and describe various business scenarios. We compare and contrast the scenarios and outline the criteria for decision making. And what we do with the results then is to assess the opportunities, the risks, and the costs of the alternative business models and scenarios that we've looked at. If the project is deemed feasible, then we move forward to the next step. Now let's jump to market research. Market research is very important, and to start a successful business, you need to learn about your customers, your competitors, and your industry. So market research is used to define potential markets, the needs and the wants of each, how those needs and wants can be met, how products and services could be packaged to be most accessible to customers and clients, the best pricing for those products and services, who competitors are, how best to compete against them. Potential collaborators also want to be looked at, and how to collaborate with each, and many other applications of your market research. Good business research is about collecting the information you really need, when you need it, to answer important questions and to make important business decisions. Most market research will provide insights and help you reduce business risks, spot trends in the industry, spot problems in the industry, and identify sales opportunities. So if you're going to do research, you need a research plan. Good business research is about collecting the information you really need when you need it to answer important questions and make important business decisions. What is the key to doing good business research? It's to make the best use of your time, get the information you really need, and make the best business decision. Consider these key questions before doing your research. So let's look at the research plan. Why am I doing the research? Have the decision in mind. When do I need to have my decision? Having 80% of the questions answered in time is probably better than having 100% answered after the deadline. What information do I really need? Do you really need to know a little about a lot of things, or a lot about a few things? Where is the best place to get the information? Well, there are primary sources, and those are the people and organizations in your market, your potential customers, suppliers, and competitors. Those are the people that you go to, talk to, and gain a lot of primary information from. So they're primary sources. Secondary sources are reports, articles, and statistics about the people in your marketplace. So to continue, what options do I have to collect the information? Well, for primary information sources, you need to make the decision and the timing and understand the information need. Then you need to prepare the question list or survey list. And then for secondary sources of information, you can use your library and other resource centers or websites, and we'll talk more about that later. What resources do I have to collect the information? Well, you have, of course, yourself, and then friends and family. Plus, a lot is available on the internet, and you will have some community resources available. Considering the time and resources, you want to make an action plan, commit to the action plan, and execute the action plan. So market research basics then. You need to identify official sources of market and industry data so you can get the economic indicators, employment statistics, income and earnings, census information. You need to do the primary research, that is the first-hand information. You do your market research surveys by phone, by mail, or in person, and they are used to assess the potential success of a product or service. Then there's the market research focus groups, where you can discover customer likes, dislikes, and problems. And then, of course, market research by individual interviews of potential customers, suppliers, and even your competition. Today's economy is globalized, so it's important to understand any international factors that influence your business. So there are some resources that will help you explore that. Now, first is the Market Research Guide for Exporters, which identifies resources for business owners seeking to sell their products abroad. And then there's Country Market Research, which is available on the internet, and those are reports or trade issues in countries across the globe. And then there's buyusa.gov, which helps U.S. companies find international business partners. So let's look at some market research sources. The more focused you are about what you want to gain by your research, the more effective and efficient you can be in your research. The shorter time it will take you, and ultimately the less it will cost you, whether in your own time or the time of your employees or potentially a consultant. There are trade-offs too in the breadth and depth of information you get. The more breadth you want, usually the less depth you'll get, unless you have a great deal of resource to carry out the research. On the other hand, if you want to examine a certain aspect of a product or service in great detail, you will likely not get as much information about other aspects. For those starting out in research or who have very limited resources, you can use various methods and sources to get a good mix of breadth and depth of information. You will understand more about the markets and customers for your products and services and not go bankrupt doing so because of the cost of research. So let's look at sources now. There are professional organizations that issue newsletters and publications. There are trade groups that do newsletters and publications. Then there's the internet and database searches, which are extremely rich potential for gaining critical information. Then there are conferences and workshops and the reports of conferences and workshops. There's the Department of Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce. Academic institutions have various publications that can reflect as well. Then there are business magazines, academic journals on various business subjects. There are local newspapers, industry profiles, and last but not least, your local library and the research librarian. The research librarian can help find a lot of statistics that you might not have access to or might have to pay to get access to over the internet. So let's look at some U.S. government sources. You have the business data and statistics from the SBA, which are very broad. You have the U.S. Census Bureau, which offers a vast repository of information that is quick and easy to navigate. You have fedstates.gov, that is data available on wide-ranging topics, including economic and population trends, crime, education, healthcare, aviation safety, it goes on and on. Then there are small business statistics. If you're interested in statistics about how small businesses are doing, the SBA Office of Advocacy conducts and publishes its own research on topics such as the small business economy. And then there's economicindicators.gov, which are briefings for retail sales, durable goods manufacturing, etc. And this is a single page from, actually it's the top half of a single page from the SBA data sources. Has a very, very broad range of topics and considerations up and down the entire spectrum. So here's the bottom half of that page, and as I say, this is just one page, and you can see the check marks for the various sets of data that are available. It is quite extensive. So now let's look at the assessment process. The origin of a new business idea can come from a variety of sources. It may come from the boardroom of an existing business or a group of producers sitting around the kitchen table. Regardless of the setting, you may want to use the following approach to formulate and evaluate the business concept. Anytime during the business concept creation process, you may decide that your idea is not viable, in which case you may want to abandon the idea. But let's look at the assessment process. First is building the business concept, which we've talked about the business concept briefly. You use your initial idea and you explore and identify and assess, basically. So you formulate the general business concept, you identify alternative business models for the idea, you investigate the ideas and the alternative business models. Then you conduct a formal assessment of the idea, refine and flesh out the business models. So we're becoming iterative here. As we gain more knowledge, we look for more and try to expand on our knowledge base. So the Idea and model deliberation and assessment now basically means that we further refine the business model, prepare and analyze the feasibility study as outlined, and then further refine the business model as necessary. Then we want to follow by developing our marketing concept and our initial financials. And we can evaluate the entire business concept. So we integrate the marketing and the initial financials with the business concept, and we will have enough information to make the go, no-go decision. And there are three possible decisions. We can decide the project is viable and move forward. We can decide more study and analysis is required, or we can decide the project is not viable and abandon it. And the last step is, if we make the go decision, we can initiate business plan development. Now, we have the business concept, the marketing concept, the financial projections, and the funding sources already reasonably well researched, so those are ready to start development of the business plan, and we have come a very long ways. In summary, we've defined the business concept, we've outlined the feasibility study, we've looked at market research basics and a set of market research sources that will allow us access to a large amount of information. We've outlined an assessment process that will help us stay organized as we move through our pre-startup business planning. And then lastly, we've looked at the business plan prelims, where we bring everything together. Questions and answers. Do I have a question from the studio audience? Yes, I do. How can I start a business with no experience? Okay. The success of a business rarely has to do with the novelty of the idea. Rather, it has more to do with whether or not the management team is able to execute on the strategy and goals. Luck and the big idea are factors, but they are not nearly as important as execution. I would encourage you to gain an understanding of your ability to execute on the ideas, specifically to determine if the idea is worth pursuing. What you really need is advice and guidance from someone who has already done what you are planning to do. Research online and on LinkedIn and create a wish list of seasoned veterans in your industry that you think may be able to help you and possibly become advisors to your company. We have completed step 3 of a 7-step process. These are the main topics of the next 4 sessions. Note that this series can be used for one or multiple ideas, and also note that one-on-one mentoring is available and would be helpful to get to the go, no-go decision. Please be with us for our next session, the marketing concept, where we will answer the question, how do I identify a market opportunity?